A Black Knight satellite. In 1899, Nikola Tesla reported intercepting rhythmic radio signals during experiments in Colorado Springs. The pulses were unlike atmospheric, static. He speculated they came from intelligent life beyond Earth. In the 1920s, amateur radio operators detected long-delayed echoes, signals returning seconds later. In 1973, Duncan Lunan mapped the timing and claimed it formed a star chart pointing to Epsilon Botis, suggesting an ancient alien probe orbiting Earth for 13000 years. Cold War radar then detected unidentified objects in orbit. In 1998, the Space Shuttle Endeavour photographed a dark, tumbling object above Earth, knocking inside the Shenzhou capsule. In 2003, during China's first solo spaceflight, astronaut Yang Liwei reported a distinct knocking sound inside his capsule. The tapping resembled metal struck by wood. He paused, listened, and scanned outside. Nothing was visible. Later missions, Shenzhou 6 and 7, reported similar sounds. Engineers could not reliably reproduce the noise on Earth. Spacecraft in orbit cycle between extreme heat and deep cold. Structural materials expand and contract rapidly. Metal panels shift microscopically, releasing sharp impulses that travel efficiently through the hull. The most probable cause is thermal stress and mechanical resonance interacting with the capsule's frame. Tabby's star. Located roughly 1470 light-years away, KIC 8462852, known as Tabby's star, dimmed by as much as 22%. For comparison, Jupiter blocks about 1% of a star's light during transit. The dimming was irregular. No predictable orbital period. No stable pattern. Astronomers briefly considered an artificial megastructure such as a Dyson swarm collecting stellar energy. Spectral analysis revealed a critical detail. Blue light was reduced more than red light. A solid structure would block all wavelengths equally. The object obscuring the star was semi-transparent. The leading explanation is a massive cloud of fine dust, possibly debris from disintegrating comets or a disrupted moon, scattering shorter wavelengths and producing chaotic dimming. Not construction. Not engineering. Just particulate matter in unstable orbit. The Hessdalen Lights. Since the 1930s, luminous orbs have appeared in Norway's Hessdalen Valley. Witnesses describe hovering lights, sudden accelerations, and shifting shapes. Between 1,981 and 1,984 sightings occurred up to 20 times per week. Researchers installed automated monitoring stations in the late 1990s. One recording captured a glowing pyramid-like formation moving vertically. One hypothesis suggests the valley functions as a natural electrical system. Mineral-rich soil on opposing slopes may create a potential difference, while the river acts as a conductive medium. Though no single explanation is universally confirmed, plasma discharge and combustion phenomena account for most observed behaviors. The 1977 Jellyfish sky event. On the 20th of September, 1977, observers across northern Europe reported a luminous object resembling a jellyfish. A bright flare expanded into thin glowing strands forming a semicircular shape before drifting away. Reports came from police officers, airline crews, military personnel, and civilians. The display lasted up to 15 minutes. The most widely accepted explanation links the phenomenon to the launch of the Soviet satellite Cosmos 955. When rockets launch near dawn or dusk, sunlight illuminates high-altitude exhaust plumes while the ground remains dark. Expanding gases spread outward, creating umbrella or jellyfish shapes visible across vast regions. Perspective and atmospheric lighting can distort perceived motion. Rocket exhaust illuminated at altitude can resemble biological forms. Geometry, light, and timing aligned. Undetected near-Earth objects. As of late 2024, astronomers have cataloged more than 37000 near-Earth asteroids. Many smaller objects remain difficult to detect, especially those approaching from the sun's direction. Asteroid 2008 TC3 was discovered only 20 hours before exploding over Sudan. In 2013, the Chelyabinsk meteor, roughly 65 feet wide, detonated over Russia without prior detection, releasing energy equivalent to hundreds of kilotons of TNT. Detection systems rely heavily on reflected sunlight. Dark asteroids reflect very little light, appearing smaller than they are. Objects moving rapidly during close approaches provide limited observation time. Infrared telescopes improve detection by measuring heat signatures, but coverage is incomplete. Smaller objects can evade monitoring not because they are hidden, but because geometry and reflectivity limit visibility. Oumuamua. In October 2017, astronomers detected the first confirmed interstellar object passing through our solar system. Named Oumuamua, it traveled too fast and on too steep a trajectory to be gravitationally bound to the Sunday. Light curve analysis suggested an unusually elongated shape, either cigar-like or flattened. After passing the Sun, the object accelerated slightly, deviating from expected gravitational behavior. No visible cometary tail or dust cloud was observed. Comets typically accelerate through outgassing, where solar heating releases jets of vapor. In 2023, researchers proposed that cosmic radiation altered water ice within the object over millions of years, trapping hydrogen gas. Solar heating released this hydrogen-producing thrust without visible dust. Hydrogen is transparent. Acceleration without a visible plume. The Lost Cosmonauts recordings. In the late 1950s and early 1960s, two Italian radio enthusiasts claimed to intercept transmissions from secret Soviet missions that ended in disaster. Recordings allegedly captured astronauts suffocating, drifting into deep space, or burning during re-entry. The theory suggested the Soviet Union concealed fatal launches before Yuri Gagarin's historic flight. After Soviet archives were declassified, no evidence supported lost crewed missions in orbit. Audio analysis revealed inconsistencies. The speakers did not follow standard Soviet communication protocols. Linguistic experts identified grammatical errors and accents inconsistent with native Russian speakers. Cold War secrecy and limited transparency amplified speculation. The recordings are widely regarded as fabrications or misinterpretations. Historical documentation did not confirm phantom missions. False vacuum theory. Quantum field theory allows for the possibility that the universe exists in a metastable state, a false vacuum. This state appears stable but may not represent the lowest possible energy configuration. If a more stable vacuum state formed somewhere in space, it could expand outward at light speed, altering fundamental constants and particle interactions within the bubble. No signal would precede it. No warning could outrun it. Matter inside the bubble would not be destroyed by force, but redefined by new physical laws. There is currently no evidence that such a transition is imminent. However, theoretical models do not rule it out. Stability in this framework is conditional. The Pioneer Anomaly. Launched in 1972 and 1973, Pioneer 10 and 11 traveled beyond the outer planets. Long-term tracking revealed they were slowing down slightly more than gravitational models predicted. The deceleration was extremely small but measurable. The effect persisted for decades and became known as the Pioneer Anomaly. Speculation included modified gravity, dark matter interactions, and cosmological expansion effects. Detailed thermal modeling eventually resolved the anomaly. The spacecraft's radioisotope thermoelectric generators produced significant heat. That heat radiated unevenly, reflecting off structural components such as the high-gain antenna. Radiation carries momentum. Asymmetrical heat emission generated a tiny but continuous thrust opposite the emission direction. The spacecraft were being pushed by their own thermal radiation. A subtle force accumulated over years. Apollo 10 space music. In May 1969, Apollo 10 orbited the moon in preparation for the later landing mission. While passing behind the moon, the crew lost radio contact with Earth for nearly an hour. During this isolation, the astronauts heard a sustained whistling tone through their headsets. The sound lasted almost the entire blackout period. Mission recordings captured the crew discussing the unusual noise. The cause was identified as interference between the VHF radios of the command module and lunar module when operating in close proximity. Electromagnetic feedback created oscillations within the communication system. When the module separated, the sound ceased. The phenomenon had been documented in testing before subsequent missions. Signal overlap, not transmission from beyond. The Tunguska event. On the 30th of June, 1908, a luminous object streaked across the Siberian sky before exploding above the Tunguska River region. The blast flattened approximately 830 square miles of forest. Witnesses described a flash brighter than the sun and shockwaves that shattered windows hundreds of miles away. When expeditions reached the site years later, no impact crater was found. Trees near the center stood scorched but upright, while those farther away were knocked down radially. The prevailing model describes an airburst. A stony asteroid tens of meters in diameter entered Earth's atmosphere and disintegrated at an altitude of roughly 6 miles. The explosion released energy equivalent to multiple megatons of TNT. The object vaporized before reaching the ground. The Chelyabinsk shockwave. On the 15th of February 2013, a previously undetected asteroid entered Earth's atmosphere over Russia. The object measured approximately 20 meters across. As it descended, atmospheric pressure caused it to fragment and explode at high altitude. The resulting airburst released energy estimated at around 400-500 kilotons of TNT. The shockwave traveled outward, shattering windows across the city of Chelyabinsk and injuring over 1,000 people, primarily from flying glass. The meteor approached from near the sun's direction, making early optical detection difficult. Dashcam footage captured the intense flash and delayed blast wave, providing unprecedented documentation of an airburst event. The explosion occurred without impact. Kinetic energy converted into heat and pressure within seconds. The silence of space. Space appears silent and empty, but it is governed by constant radiation, pressure, motion, and decay. Spacecraft materials deform under thermal stress. Stars shed debris. Asteroids drift through gravitational corridors shaped by planetary motion. Most disturbing space events share a pattern: unexpected behavior followed by incomplete information. Human perception fills gaps quickly, especially when scale exceeds intuition. Signals become messages. Noise becomes intent. Motion becomes agency. But when data accumulates spectral lines, thermal models, orbital calculations, the narrative shifts. The events remain extreme. Explosions still flatten forests. Objects still accelerate in darkness. The difference is structure. Disturbance in space is rarely intelligence. It is usually physics operating without concern.